Deathtrap, a thriller in 2 acts. One set, 5 characters, a juicy murder in Act 1, unexpected developments in Act 2, sound construction, good dialogue, laughs in the right places, highly commercial.
Why, that's wonderful, darling. I'm so happy for you. For both of us.
Happy? Why on earth happy?
It's yours, isn't it? The idea you had in August.
No, the idea I had in August has gone the way of the idea I had in June, the idea I had whatever it was before then. In the fireplace, up the chimney, and out over Fairfield County. Pollution in its most grisly form. This came in the mail this morning. Here it is. From Clara Anderson. Twerk from the seminar.
Dear Mr. Bro, I hope you don't mind my sending you my play Deathtrap, which I finished retyping at 2 o'clock this morning. Since I couldn't have written it without the inspiration of your own work and the guidance and encouragement you showed me last summer, I thought it only fitting you should be the first person to read it. If you find it 1/10 as good as any of your own thrillers, I'll consider my time well spent and the fee for the seminar more than adequately recompensed.
That's nice.
No, it isn't. It's false.
Please excuse the carbon copy. The local Xerox machine is on the fritz, and I couldn't stand the thought of waiting a few days to send my firstborn child off to its spiritual father.
My italics. Hermetics.
I hope you'll call or write as soon as you read it, and let me know whether you think it's worthy of
Submitted to, etc., etc. The SOB even types it. I think I remember her. Enormously obese. A glandular condition. 400 pounds. I wonder how she got my address.
From the university.
Probably.
Is it really that good? Her first play?
It can't miss. Even a gifted director couldn't ruin it. No, it'll run for years. The stock and amateur rights will feed and clothe generations of Andersons. It can easily be opened up for a movie. George C. Scott or Michael Caine.
Oh, I love him.
The damn thing is perfect.
I should think you'd be proud that one of your students had written a sale of the play.
Darling, for the first time in 11 years of marriage, drop dead.
Goodness.
I'm green with envy. I'd like to beat the wretch with that mace over there, put her in a 400-pound hole somewhere, and send the thing off into my own name to Hal Prince or David Merrick. Now that's the best idea I've had in ages.
Poor Sydney.
I mean, what's the point in owning a mace if you don't use it every once in a while?
You'll get an idea of your own any day now. It'll turn into a better play than that one.
Don't bet on it. Not that you have anything to bet with.
We're doing very nicely in that department. Not one creditor beating at the door.
Yes, but for how long? I've just about cleaned you up by now, haven't I?
We've cleaned me out, and it's been a joy and a delight every bit of the way. Your next play will simply have to be a terrific smash.
That's just what I need. An easing of the pressure.
Well, why don't you call it to Merrick's attention? Maybe you could get a commission of some kind.
A finder's fee, you mean?
If that's what it's called.
Great and glorious 1%. Maybe even 1.5%.
Or better yet, why don't you produce it yourself? You've been involved in enough productions to know how to do it, and it might be a beneficial change of pace.
Darling, I may be devious and underhanded enough to be a successful murderer, but not, I think, a Broadway producer. One mustn't overestimate one's talents.
Collaborate with her. Isn't there room for improvement in the play, good as it is? The professional touch, a little reshaping and sharpening.
That's a possibility.
I'm sure she'd be thrilled with the chance to work with you.
We'd split 50-50.
And you get top billing.
Naturally. Reverse alphabetical order, my dear. It's done all the time.
On the basis of who you are.
Sydney, 4 flops, Burl.
Sydney, author of the Murder Game.
Oh, yes. I remember that one. Back in the time of King Arthur, wasn't it?
Not quite that long ago.
18 years, darling. 18 years, each one flying away faster than one before it. Nothing recedes like success. That is a good one. I can fit that in somewhere. Have some has-been actor say, recedes is EDE, right?
Yes. You see, you would improve it.
Yeah. Give it the inimitable Sydney roll flavor. Blows in Boston.
Call her now. Where does she live?
Up in Milton. You don't like the maze?
No, definitely not. Blood on the carpet, and the next day Helga Tendorf will be picking up the psychic vibrations.
From Holland? I would doubt it very much.
Sydney, Or were you smoking Friday night when the rest of us were smoking pot? She's taken the McBain cottage for 6 months. Paul Lyman is doing a book with her. He was impersonating her for 15 minutes.
Oh, I thought he was finally coming out of the closet.
You see what a fine murderer you'd be? Hug and Court moves in practically on your doorstep, and you manage not to hear about it.
That does give one pause.
Well, it certainly should. Nan and Tom Weston had her to dinner last week, and she told Tom about his backaches and the money he put into silver, and his father's thing for tall women. She warned Nan that their O'Hara girl was going to leave, which she did 2 days later. And she found a set of keys that Nan lost in 1969. They were under the clothes dryer.
She's in the McBain cottage?
Right over yonder, picking up our blips on her radar this minute, most likely.
Well, it seems Miss Anderson has herself a collaborator. Not that I really believe in ESP.
The police in Europe seem to. That's half of why she's here. She's supposed to be arresting from pointing at murderers.
Hold on a second. The fat one wasn't there the whole time. Her name was Quinn or Quincy. Anderson. I wonder if she's the one that the office took to stand.
There's an easy way to find that out.
Yes. This may be a 2-hour conversation. Busy. Probably talking to Mary. What's for dinner?
Salmon.
Again?
Yes. Sydney, would you actually kill someone to have another successful life?
Don't be foolish, darling. Of course I would. Spoken in jest, Miss Tendor.
It's Mrs. She's divorced.
Well, no wonder she's divorced. Who could stay married to a woman with ESP? Don't fix me with that basilisk stare, whatever a basilisk happens to be. Wouldn't you like to rest easy in the knowledge that next time we go to Sardi's, we won't be seated in the kitchen? Do you know how much this plate could net its off in today's market? $2 million, and that's not including the Deathtrap t-shirts. If that's not a reasonable motive for murder, I don't know what is. I wish you hadn't told me about it. Oh, here we go. Clara Anderson? Yeah, Sydney Grove. As a matter of fact, I have. I just finished reading it just 15 minutes ago. And I must say, in all sincerity, that you've got yourself an enormously promising first draft. Yeah, I was just saying to my wife, Ryder, if you give it the reshaping it needs, and point it up in the right places, work in some laughs, well, you'll be right up there with the sleuth and the murder game and dialer, and it has the makings, as we said. No, I should think you should be. Though I know that feeling so well. I thought the murder game was finished the first time around. Then someone with much more experience in the theater took it in hand and revised it with me. It improved it tremendously, I don't mind admitting. George S. Kaufman. He didn't take credit, though God knows I urged him to because he was badly in debt at the time and didn't want it known that he had a share of the royalties. But look, I could be wrong about this. What sort of reaction have you had from other people? Really? No one at all. Well, that's very flattering. But surely someone has read it, or friends, or husbands, some of the people from the seminar? Oh. I see. Well, that sounds ideal. All you have to do is sit around and check the thermostat and water the plants. Yeah. I'm surprised you've only written one play since July. I'd have tossed off 3 or 4 by now. Oh, I am. A marvelous thriller. It's about a woman with ESP, based on Helga Tender, you know, the Dutch psychic. Yes, it's called The Frowning Wife. But that's just a working title. I'll have to come up with something jazzier than that. I love Deathtrap, incidentally. The title as well as play. Or promising first draft, I should say. Yes, I do, but far too many to give you over the phone. Why don't we go over it sometime? I'm free this evening, as a matter of fact. Yeah, why don't you come down? It's not that far. Well, why don't you take the train down and I'll pick you up at Westport Station and bring you over. Yeah, it'll be better that way anyway. You'd have a devil of a time finding us. You have to, when we're expecting people, you know, we have to send off flares. I'll hold on. Her car is is in for repairs, and she's house sitting for a couple of years. I'm there.
Do you think she'll be open to the idea of collaborating?
She might be. Was George S. Kaufman still alive? No, that's a little bit early. What's another time? No, that's too late. Make it the 7:29. Yeah, and there's an 11 or something from New York that I'm sure stops in Milford. You won't have any problem getting home. Would you bring the original with you? The carbon's a bit hard on these weary old eyes. Good. I'll see you at 7:29. Oh, Terrence? Do you mind if I call you Terrence? Why? Oh God, I'm sorry, Clara. Clara, I'll be a few minutes late. Yeah, I'm going to run some errands. So just wait by the station, and I'll be along eventually, in a navy blue Mercedes. Right. Goodbye. I think she's the one without the obvious defects.
What errands do you have to run?
Didn't you say something about library books, picking them up or dropping them off?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I thought you did. The Xerox machine is fixed, but she decided to wait a day or two longer in case I have any small suggestions to make. No one is ready. No one even knows she's working on it.
Well, I didn't know I'll see you picking her up.
The thought had crossed my mind. I'm so in the habit of planning crimes on paper.
Why did you tell her to bring the original copy?
You heard me. The carbon is a strain. We should have 2 copies to go over. I don't want her standing over my shoulder for 2 hours exhaling cheeseburger.
Well, she probably has another carbon copy filed away somewhere.
Probably, like drafts and notes, outlines. Opening night of my dazzling triumph, her gray-haired mother comes walking down the aisle with the Milford and Westford police departments when suddenly... Hello? Oh, how are you, Lottie? No, I don't think so. I'm working on an idea right now. I really don't want to lose touch with it. It's in the embryo stage. But Myra might want to. Hold on. They're going to see the Frenchman at Fine Arts too. I could drop you off on the way.
No, I don't want to see it. Not tonight.
Lottie, Myra will pass too. She's feeling a bit under the weather. Give us a report on it tomorrow, will you? Take care. You know, you don't have to stand guard. I'm gonna kill when the moon is full.
Why did you lie just now? Why didn't you tell her that someone was coming to see you?
It's none of her business. I don't know why I lied. I guess I'm just a liar.
The moon was full last night, except for a tiny sliver down near the bottom.
Really? Well, I'll simply have to exercise massive self-control and remind myself of that other carbon copy, which almost certainly exists.
If not for that, Susan, would you? Could you?
Probably not. Probably I would chicken out, even if she's the tiny one. They say that planning crimes on paper siphons off the hostile impulses, and I'm sure they're right. At the same time, though, it does open one to the idea of committing real murder. Gives it the familiar feel of a possibility worth considering. Just as owning a weapon and handling it opens one, however, slightly to the idea of using it. But there's a world of difference between a paper victim and a real one. No, I'm sure that Clara Anderson will leave here today in the same state of health in which she arrives. Manuscript clutched in tiny or huge or a relatively normal sized hand.
She'll jump at the chance to collaborate with you, and afterwards, things will do this all your own.
I'm sure I shall, sooner or later.
Maybe you could do something based on how they tell you, but not call her anyone.
The smiling laugh, a cheerful up kind of thrill. You know, there could be an idea in this. A playwright who's undergoing a dry spell has sent a newly hatched play by a twerp who attended his seminar. It's a possible opening, isn't it? If the play is obviously commercial and the playwright has a room full of weapons.
Put it in your notebook.
I will. Shame she's got the title Deathtrap. 1794, but they were out of knives at the hardware store, so I backdated to 10 years.
It's a beautiful house.
The Historical Society had kittens.
Hello.
This is Clara Anderson, dear. My wife, Wyatt.
Hello, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Come on in, I was beginning to worry.
Oh, be careful. You can always tell an authentic colonial by the visitor's stub toes.
The room you work in?
How did you guess?
The typewriter and all those posters. Is that the mace that was used in Murderer's Child?
Yes, and the dagger from the murder. Be careful, it's sharp. The trick room was substituted in Act 2.
In for the kill?
Yes.
I can't understand why that play didn't run.
Critics peeing on it might be the answer.
Well, the train must have been late. Was it?
No, Mr. Brule was. The train was on time.
I had to get gas, and Frank insisted on fondling the spark plugs.
Did you know that Gunpoint was the first play I ever saw? I had an aunt in New York, and I came in on the train one Saturday, by myself, another first, from Hartford. She took me to the matinee. I was only 12 years old.
If you're trying to depress me, you've made it.
Oh, I'm sorry, but that's how I got hooked on thrillers.
Angel Street did it to me. Where's that damn grocery bill, Bella? What have you done with it, you poor wretched creature?
Well, it sounds like a disease being passed from generation to generation.
It is a disease. Thrilleritis malignans, the fevered pursuit of the one set, 5-character moneymaker.
Well, I'm not pursuing money. Not that I wouldn't like to have some, so I could have a place like this to work in. But that's not the reason I wrote Deathtrap.
You're still an early case.
It's not a disease, it's a tradition. A superbly challenging theatrical framework in which every possible variation seems to have been played. Can I conjure up a few new ones? Can I startle an audience that's been on Angel Street, that's dialed in for murder, that's witnessed the prosecution, that's played the murder game?
Lovely speech, and thanks for saving me for last.
Well, I was coming to sleuth.
I'm glad I stopped you.
So am I. I'm a little euphoric about all that's happening.
As well you should be.
Would you like something to drink?
Yes, please. You have some ginger ale?
Yes, Sydney Scotch.
No, dear, I think I'll have ginger ale too.
These aren't all from your plays, are they?
Oh, God, no. I haven't written that many. Friends give me things, and I proudly teach shelves.
There's the disease.
Yes, and a terrific excuse for not working. I found this in Ridgefield just the other day. 18th century German. Have a look.
It's beautiful.
I'm keeping very good care of my spiritual child. Lock and key.
I've got the original.
Well, thank God. I really should be wearing glasses, but my doctor says the longer I can do without them, the better off I am. Here you are. Oh, there you are.
It's not in a binder for the Xeroxing.
It makes no never mind.
I've got the original in there too. There's a scene between Diane and Carlo that I think I may have been wrong to cut, and the Diane and Richard scene comes earlier before they know Carlo's back.
Did you do several drafts?
Just the one. It's a mess, but I think you'll be able to decipher it if you'd just like to see those two scenes.
I would, by all means. I had a feeling there was a Diane and Carlos scene missing. Before the murder?
Yes, I was afraid the act would run too long.
What else do you have in here?
Oh, just the outline, which I'd parted from considerably. I made it the way you suggested. A page per scene, loose leaf, and some lines I jotted down but never got to use.
You threw away the ones you did use as you used them.
Yes.
Same way I would.
Everything was in the one envelope, so I just grabbed it. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Oh, it's a 2-hour walk to the station, so I had to leave right after we had our talk.
2 hours?
I walk longer than that. I'm one writer who's not going to get flabby. I work out every morning. In fact, I came this close to making the Olympic decathlon team.
Really?
Well, this close.
I'll be certain not to argue with you then. I made the Olympic sloth team. Gold medal. I'd fall asleep in any position. Deathtrap.
Deathtrap.
Deathtrap. It'll be toasted with more than ginger ale someday if Sydney's right about it, and I'm sure he is.
Well, I hope so. I toasted it with beer the other night.
We have some, would you have it?
No, this is fine, thank you.
Are you planning on staying in here?
Yes.
Do you think I overdid the set description? All the exact locations for each piece of furniture?
The set description? I don't remember anything being wrong with it. No, this is perfect. Couldn't be better. You certainly type beautifully. Electric?
No, I can't see electric typewriters. If there's a power failure, you can't work.
Well, that's the whole point in owning one. No, the real trouble I find with Zenobia over there, at any rate, is you can only make one decent carbon. The second one is so muddy as to be almost illegible. You don't have that.
Sydney has some wonderful ideas for improving your play, Miss Anderson.
I'm sure he does. I'm looking forward to hearing them.
Wouldn't you go relax in the living room, dear?
There's no good work light in there.
I seem to recall a paisley chair with a light beside it bright enough for the engraving of Bibles on pinheads.
The light is too bright and the chair is too low. I'll be quiet.
Darling, this is Clara's first play, and I'm the first person to read it. Don't you think she'd want our discussion to be in private? Wouldn't you? Don't be embarrassed to say so.
No, I don't mind Mrs. Brule being here. In fact, I like it. It makes me feel a little less as if I've been summoned to the principal's office.
Oh, I'm sorry if I awe you.
Well, you do. All your plays and the things you say. I never would have thought to call my typewriter anything but Smith Corona.
As long as it answers.
You're welcome to read the play too, Mrs. Brule, if you'd like.
Oh, I would.
I'm curious to know how other women are going to react to Diane's decision about the gun.
Sydney told me a little about it at dinner, but he stopped with the surprises. I don't even know who kills whom.
Good. You shouldn't. I think that was the trouble with Murderer's Child, if you'll forgive me for saying so. From the opening curtain, it was so obvious that Dr. Mannheim was going to bash poor Teddy. You didn't leave any room for doubt. I mean, the audience should suspect, yes, but they shouldn't be absolutely certain, should they? Doesn't that tend to diminish the suspense?
You may have a point there. I wish you had mentioned over the phone you wanted Myra to read it. You could have brought a second copy, and she could be reading that right now while we have our talk.
I didn't know she'd be interested in. Anyway, I don't have another copy.
You don't have another copy?
No, I just made the one. I thought I'd be Xeroxing the original as soon as I was through.
Well, I guess you don't need 2 or 3 anymore in the age of Xerox.
Well, she could read this one and we could pass the pages back and forth. Or I could just sit next to you.
I want to think for a moment. Let me think.
Miss Anderson, Sydney is bursting with creative ideas about your play. I've never seen him so enthusiastic. He gets finished plays in the mail very often. Plays that are ready for production, supposedly, from his agent, from producers, from aspiring playwrights, and usually he just laughs and sneers and says the most disparaging things you could possibly imagine. I know he could improve your play tremendously. He could turn it into a hit that would run for years and years and make more than enough money for everyone concerned.
Is that what you meant by I'll be quiet?
Well, I won't be quiet. I'm going to say what's been on my mind since your phone conversation. It's very wrong of you to expect Sydney to give you the fruit of his years of experience, his hard-won knowledge, without any quid pro quos at the seminar
He
results.
offered to give
And
me
it's very wrong of you to have offered to give it to her. I am the one in this household whose feet are on the ground and whose eyes on the checkbook. Now I'm going to make a suggestion to you, Sydney, and it's going to come as a shock to you, but I want you to give it your grave and thoughtful and earnest consideration. Will you do that? Will you promise to do that for me? Put aside the play you're working on. Yes, put aside the play about Helga to New York and how she finds murderers and keys under clothes dryers. Put it aside and help Miss Anderson with her play. Collaborate with her. That's what I'm suggesting. That's what I think is the fair and rational and sensible thing to do in this situation. Deathtrap by Clara Anderson and Sydney Brule. Unless Miss Anderson feels that, in deference to your age and reputation, it should be the other way around.
That is a shocker. Put aside the drowning wife.
I thought it was the frowning one.
The frowning wife? What kind of a name would that be? No, it's the drowning wife. It has these women's lib overtones in the ESP. It's such a timely play.
It will keep Sydney. People are always interested in psychics who can point at someone and say, "This woman murdered that man." Put it aside. Please. Do for Miss Anderson what George S. Kaufman did for you.
That's awfully persuasive, Myra. What are your thoughts?
Oh, wow. I suddenly feel as if I'm on the spot.
Well, you are, really. Myra's put you there. Put us both there.
Well, I felt it should be brought up before anything was done.
Yes, you were quite right. Quite right. How does it grab you, Clara?
Well, first of all, I'm overwhelmed, really honored and staggered that Sydney Brule would even consider putting aside one of his own plays to work with me on one of mine. I mean, there I was, sitting in that theater when I was just 12 years old, and who would have thought that someday I'd be standing here
We get the gist of the passage.
It's a golden opportunity that I'm sure I ought to seize with both hands.
Well, you should, yes.
But the thing is, it's as if I went to a doctor, one of the world's leading specialists, and he recommended surgery. Well, even with my respect for his eminence and his experience, I'd still want to get a second opinion, wouldn't I? I'm sure your ideas are terrific, but you're right, Mrs. Brule. It wouldn't be fair for me to hear them now without some sort of an understanding or an agreement. And right now, to be perfectly honest, without having heard them, I feel that Deathtrap is very good as it is. Not perfect, certainly. I guess it would use a little fine-tuning, but I don't think it needs surgery. What I ought to do, I think, is Xerox a couple couple of copies and send them to some of those agents you recommended to us. And if they say too it's in need of major rewriting, then I'll be running back here begging you to do what Mrs. Poole suggested. And I'll be willing to make whatever arrangement you think is right. The same one you had with Mr. Kaufman, I guess. I hope I haven't offended you.
Not at all.
Miss Anderson, please. Agents know about contracts. They don't know
Don't, Myra. She'll think she has the wealth of the Indies here, and we're Mr. and Mrs. Jean Lafitte.
No, Mr. Rule, I'd never think anything like that. I'm just grateful that you're willing to go out of your way to help me.
Well, that's the thing, really. Now that I've had a moment to consider the matter, I would never put aside a play as timely and inventive as The Drowning Wife to do wet nurse work on one as speculative as Deathtrap. Sit down, Myra. You're making me nervous standing there and hyperventilating. Show it to a few agents. And if you decide that major rewrites are in order, get in touch. Who knows? I may hit a snag. It's happened once or twice.
Thank you, I will.
Though I doubt I shall, I'm more than halfway through, and I have another play ready to go now, based on the life of Harry Houdini.
Oh?
Yes, magic is very in now. Look at the success of the magic show. Houdini's always been an idol of mine. These are a pair of his handcuffs.
Sydney.
Calm down, Myra. Clara's not the kind of person who would steal someone else's idea, now, are you?
No, of course not.
Have a seat. His heart is far from fraud as heaven from earth. A remarkable man, Houdini. He made all his own magical apparatus. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Magnificent craftsmanship. Have a look.
Sydney, please.
Sit down, Myra.
Don't, I beg you, for God's sake. Think.
She's an honest young woman. Now will you sit down and stop being so all-fired suspicious of every person who comes to that door? We had a very nasty experience a few years back with a plagiaristic playwright whose name I won't mention since he's gone to his maker, recall for repairs. Ever since, if I so much as mention a language I'm working in with a fellow writer, Myra gets nervous. Don't take it personally. Have a good look at those. They're quite remarkable.
They look so old.
They were made to, and apparently solid and escape-proof.
They certainly seem that way.
Be my guest.
You mean put them on?
Yes, that's what I mean when you're holding my $1,200 pair of prize Houdini handcuffs, and I say, be my guest. Put them on.
$1,200. Wow.
Now, twist your wrists, press and pull. No, you've got to do it in a single quick motion. Try again. Turn, press, and pull, all at once.
They're not opening.
They did for me yesterday morning. It's not a matter of they're not being oiled.
I guess I'm just not Houdini.
Well, that's all right. I've got the key here, somewhere. Don't go on fussing with those. You're liable to ruin them.
Sorry.
Key. Where are you, my little brass key?
You know, this could be a good thriller. It could, I mean it.
How so?
Well, a young playwright sends her first play to an older playwright who conducted a seminar that the young playwright attended. Nobody else has read it, and she goes to visit the older playwright to get some ideas for rewrites, bringing along the original and all her notes and everything. Of course, you'd have to have the Xerox breaking down to explain why there are only 2 copies, and the play would have to be a very good one. The one the young playwright wrote, I mean. And the older playwright would have to have nothing much going on for him at the time.
An enormous concatenation of unlikely circumstances, don't you think?
Well, maybe, but we've almost got it here, haven't we? The only difference is that you've got the Drowning Wife and Houdini play, and Deathtrap probably isn't worth killing over. I bet nobody even saw me getting into your car.
Well, there you have it. You've licked the second play problem.
I think it could be turned into something fairly interesting. What do you think, Mrs. Brule?
Oh, I don't like it. It frightens me.
I wonder if I left the key over here somewhere.
Oh, I forgot to mention. I should be getting a phone call any minute now. There's a girl who's coming to see me at 8:30, and that's around when it is now, isn't it? And I couldn't get in touch with her before I left, so I had to leave her a note on the hall mirror telling her where I am and giving her the number, so that she could call and find out when I'll be getting back, so she can pick me up at the station. 1 2-hour walk per day is just enough for me, thanks. So I hope you find the key soon, or else you'll have to hold the phone for me.
How is she going to get into it in the note?
She has a key.
You're not a very conscientious house sitter.
She's honest.
You told me in the car you don't know anyone in Milford except a few tradespeople.
She's from Hartford. Her name is Marietta Klinowski, and she teaches at Quirk Middle School, phys ed.
How did you get my number? It's not listed.
I I got it from the university. I'm very friendly with Mrs. Beecham there.
Beecham?
The short red-haired lady with the eye shade.
Well, I hope she gave you the right one. I had it changed a few weeks back. An obscene caller was boring us, and I didn't notify all of you of con. Which number did she give you?
I don't remember it.
Was it 226-3049 or 226-5457?
The first one, 3049.
Oh, the new one. I must have notified the university and clean forgot about it. How strange and how untypical of me.
Would you go on looking for the key, please?
Certainly.
My heart won't take it.
Won't take what, dear? My finding the key? Oh. I do believe the two of you thought I was going to grab that mace and do a Dr. Manhunt. Clara, is that why you seem so anxious?
Well, you can't write plays like that and not have a mind that envisions possibilities.
True, very true. I'm slightly paranoid myself. What's your excuse, oh loyal and trusting wife? 11 years of marriage and she thinks I'm capable of a flesh and blood murder. There's a lesson for you in that, Clara. Uncuff yourself. Deathtrap is promising, but not that promising.
Good, I'm glad it isn't.
No, your best invention so far is the name Marietta Klonowski. That's lovely. I congratulate you.
Thanks.
I can see the sweat on your forearms now after the basketball game. Mrs. Beecham's eye shade I thought was a bit much.
I thought it was the kind of convincing detail you told us to try for. Are you sure this is the right key?
Ye gods. Houdini uncuffed himself in a milk crate under 10 feet of water. Do you mean to tell me that you can't even...
Sydney! Oh my God, Sydney, stop!
Get out of my way! Get out! Right on the ball. 1 point for neatness. Your heart seems to have taken it.
Barely.
We'll give it a rest on the Riviera. After the opening. We'll hire a housekeeper too, so you can take it easy for a while. We'll get a new car. A damn
We're
roll.
going to be in prison.
A would-be writer walks away from her house-sitting job? The police won't even bother to yawn.
Leaving her clothes in her typewriter.
Who knows young people these days? Especially the would-be writers. Maybe she realized she wouldn't be. Went off to preach at college. Or join the Reverend Sun Young Moon. Who knows? Maybe the house is broken into. Poor little Smith Corona was stolen.
Well, what are you going to do with her?
I'm going to bury her. Behind the garage. No, in the vegetable patch. Easier digging. Take a brandy, will you? I'm going to be a winner again. All our friends are going to see you living on my money. Picture their confusion. Full moon, all right. I hope this doesn't become a monthly practice. Give me a hand over here, will you? It's been done, Myra. I don't see the point in my getting a hernia. Thank God she wasn't a fat. Make mine a double. I've got myself a bit of a chill, along with incipient blisters, aching arms, and devils poking pitchforks from what I believe is my lumbago. In Murderer's Child, I had Dr. Mannheim bury Teddy in 45 minutes. In future, I'll know better. Well, one Hearthclough, but I think I saw a couple nice ones at the Yield House the other day. Go.
I'd be very happy living on your money, but I don't relish the thought of living on hers. I've tried to understand how you could do it, bearing in mind your disappointment and embarrassment in our financial situation, but I can't. And how will you feel like a winner when we'll both know it's her play? I can't understand that either. You're alien to me, Cindy, and it can't be since only 5 o'clock this afternoon. You must have always been very different from the person I thought you were. And I don't think the police are going to be as unconcerned as you do, so I don't want anything to look suspicious if they ever question her.
How will they? She disappeared in Milford, and this is Westport.
They'll check into her past associations. She must have gotten her address from the university, even if she did lie about the phone number.
If they come, I'll say she wrote me a twerpy letter asking for advice. And maybe I answered it. Or maybe I just threw it away.
In a month or so, we haven't been arrested. I want you to leave. We'll have a few arguments in people's living rooms. You can write them for us. Little tips about money or something. And then, you'll move out. I wish you could take the vegetable patch with you, but since you can't, you will buy it from me. As soon as the money starts rolling in. Before the Rolls Royce and before you go to the Riviera. You'll buy the vegetable patch and the house and the whole 9.3 acres. We'll get coverage from our instead of their price.
Darling, you've had a shocking...
Get away from me.
You've had a shocking and painful experience. And so have I. I'm terrified I'll be arrested and absolutely guilt-ridden about having been insane enough to do it. I'm going to give half my money to the New Dramatists League. I swear I am. But now's not the time to talk about anything. In a few weeks, when we're both ourselves again, things will look much cheerer.
You are yourself. Right now. And so am I. In a few days. Go ahead. She wrote me a twerky letter, officer.
Must be Lottie and Ralph coming to yammer about the movie.
It's probably Helga Tendor.
Don't be silly. It's Lottie and Ralph. Damn. We'll have to let them in. Are you sure you can face them? Why don't you go?
Oh no. I'll stay here and let you worry that I'll fall apart.
Come in. Who is it?
I'm your neighbor in the house of Miss Payne. Please, will you let me come in? It's urgent, I think. I called the information, but the lady will tell me not your number. Please, will you let me come in? I'm trying to call Brian. It's urgent.
Come in.
I apologize for so late I come, but you will forgive when I make explaining. Yeah, this is room I see. Names and windows like so. And the pain. Such pain. Pain.
We're neither of us up to snuff today.
Ah! Just as I see them! Oh, why keep you such pain-covered things?
They're antiques and souvenirs from plays. I'm a playwright.
Yeah, Paul Weinington. We make together book.
My wife, Myra.
How do you do?
What give you such pain, dearie?
Oh, nothing. I'm fine.
No, something you see pains you. Paul tells you of me. I am Helga Tendor. I am psychic.
Yes, he did. We were going to ask.
For hours now I feel pain from here. Since 8:30, when begins my Griffinshire. I'm on it. You will watch?
Yeah, certainly. Take note of that, Myra.
Thursday night, the amazing question also. What they want him for, I do not know. I called the information, but the lady will tell me not your number. I call Paul, but he is in place with red walls, eating with chopsticks. I call the information again. I say, it's urgent. You must tell me number. I'm Helga Tendor. I'm psychic. She says, yes, number. I try, but I only see 226, which is everybody's. Yeah. So I come here now because pain gets worse, and in play, but because of play, another woman uses this knife. You should really put away these things.
I will. In a month or so, I'll sell the whole collection. Tired of it anyway.
Maybe too late. I do not enjoy making unhappy people, but I must speak when I see something, yeah?
Well, I don't know actually. You could keep quiet. Aren't you supposed to be resting? You're not in the country.
Must speak is why God gave gift. His danger here, much danger, to you and to you. Is something in this room, something that invites death, that carries death. Deathtrap? Is that word in English? Deathtrap?
Yeah.
It's the title of a play I'm working on. That's where you're getting it from. And there's a death in the play. That must be what you're responding to. I work at the desk.
Maybe, but it feels like real death.
I try to keep things realistic. Act everything out as I write it.
Woman in boots. Young woman here in this room. She attacks you
Me?
with one of those. Comes as friend to help you, to work with you, but attacks. It's a very confusing image.
Well, I'll certainly be on the lookout for a young woman in boots. We're going to be Japanese from now on. Shoes off at the door.
She sits in this chair and she talks of Diane
There's a Diane in the play.
and two other people, Smith and Kelowna. No, one person. Small, black. In play, a small black man, Smith Kelowna.
Never heard the name before.
It's a very confusing image. He's gone now. Nothing else comes.
Well, that was a most impressive demonstration, wasn't it, dear? The way you picked on the title of the play and Diane and the dagger business.
Remember what I tell you. Dagger was used again by another woman because of play. And a woman in boots attacks you. Of these two things I am certain. All else is confusing. Pain is necessary.
Yes, but there wasn't any really.
What a marvelous gift. I must confess I've been skeptical about ESP, but you've convinced me it's genuine.
Oh yes, it is genuine. And sometimes not happy gift to be owner of.
Have you always had it?
Ever since I was a child. Never could I play a game of hide and go seek. It's too easy. And parents would never wrap Christmas presents by wasting paper. In my teenagers, walking with boys, such images.
Won't you take that drink now? I'd really like to talk with you.
No, let's get back to house. You will come take dinner with me sometime. I will tell you of my life. It was make very good play. And child, you are living in large house with yellow shutters.
That's right, yes.
Always when moon is full, I am in top form.
Good night. Good night.
Be careful. You also.
I intend to. No boots allowed. Good night.
Good night.
Remember! Thursday night, Merv Griffin Show.
Well, if that's the best you can do, we have nothing to worry about.
You're not afraid of the danger she saw.
Not especially.
We're going to be arrested.
I don't see how. If the police do bring her into it, which hardly seems likely, well, what of it? She'll have them combing the tri-state area for a small black boy with 2 spools of ribbon, one here and one here, coming out his mouth.
She saw her sitting here. She heard her speaking.
But she had the main point backwards. I'll clean the handcuffs and wash the rug tomorrow, and that'll be the end. I couldn't help myself, Myra. I saw that play going out into the world tomorrow, and her sitting there so young and lucky. Don't decide yet about kicking the old boy out. And please, I beg you, don't entertain thoughts of using that dagger. Just a joke. Another one of her confused images, I'm sure. Though if we do get a housekeeper, she'll have to have terrifically good references.
Sell the collection.
I will. Not right away, though. It would look too suspicious. Amazing his aura still permeates you.
Put it away somewhere.
Exit dagger into death.
Part of me was hoping you would do it. At the same time, I was terrified you actually would. Part of me was hoping. I saw the money too, in your name.
You did your best. You really did. It was my doing it, mine only. You only helped me carry her because I asked you to, and you were too stunned and in the habit of helping me to refuse. If anything should go wrong, there must never be any confusion whatsoever on that point. But nothing will go wrong. In a few weeks, we'll be celebrating. Leading producer options, new Sydney Rule thriller, successful clearance of mid-ending. Let's lock up and turn in. I wonder if murder is an aphrodisiac. What a blow that would be to importers of ginseng, not to mention the Department of Health.
Oh my God! Stay, no! Please stop! Please! Oh my God! Oh my God! No, no, no! Please stop! I'm trying to go!
She's dead. I'm positive. It worked.
Oh, of course it did. He's admiring her much less. I got news for you. Started from her.
Sorry.
You used it a hell of a lot harder than you did in the motel.
The added adrenaline of the actual performance. Well, you didn't make the strangling a jolly experience. How about that Helga ten Dorp? I almost had a heart attack myself when she came in.
Same here.
It was kind of spooky the way that she saw I was going to attack you.
She was a little off base, though. She had you doing it with one of the weapons.
That must have been the handcuffs getting mixed in.
Yeah, it was a very confusing image. You've got a little something on the side of your nose. It's for the better that she came. She'll be telling people she felt the pain of the oncoming heart attack. Every little bit helps. I've been telling people for days that Myra's been feeling under the weather. Not that any supporting evidence is needed, really.
I'd better get my things in.
No rush. I'm not going to call the doctor for a few minutes now. We don't want him working any miracles of resuscitation, do we?
Well, what if Madame Temdorp comes back?
I don't see why she should. The pain has stopped.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought of that.
Quit moving around. You're getting dirt everywhere.
Sorry.
Bet you were glad to hear my dagger.
Was that for my benefit?
Of course. I was going to suggest putting it away if she did. I didn't want the prediction making you uneasy. I had thoughts of you herring off into the woods, living with a live wife, an imaginary corpse, and no surefire can't-miss thriller to justify the one to the other.
I'd never have done that.
I just wanted to relieve any possible anxiety. I don't think I should burn these right now.
Well, why burn them at all? They're just old manuscripts.
True. You could cut them up and use the backs for scrap. That's so chintzy, though. What the hell? I'll say I was cleaning up my files when the Grim Reaper struck.
The closer you stay to the truth, the better off you are.
You're a fount of homey wisdom, Clara. Farewell, Deathtrap. Would that you were the genuine arbiter.
We can put my desk right here.
I've got a surprise for you.
Let me guess. I work in the maid's room.
Would I do that to you? No, you'll be working right here in the handsomely converted stable, as promised.
Then what's the surprise?
You'll see, after the obsequies. I hope you don't mind Zenobia tearing along at full rate. I really am going to do something on ESP. That was an awfully impressive demonstration she gave, despite the mistakes.
I'm ready to get to work too.
The thing you mentioned at the seminar?
No, something different. Last week while I was cleaning out my desk, I realized that there was a play there, in a typical urban welfare office.
A thriller?
No, to be honest, I've kind of lost my interest in thrillers. I want to try something more honest, more relevant.
Even though you use those words, I'm going to let you stay here. Go grab your things. I'll call the doctor now.
Right.
Hello? Is he there? Tell him it's urgent. My wife's had a heart attack. No, at home. We're 226-3049.
Wouldn't you know? Well, I'll see you later. How long do you think it'll be?
A couple of hours at least. I may have to go with it. I don't know.
Well, ciao.
Ciao. Oh, and Claire, it's squeaky up there, so do a quick wash up and get into bed and stay there.
I'll buy that.
Yes, it was. I've been giving your mouth-to-mouth resuscitation for 10 or 15 minutes, but it's no use. There's nothing. I wanted to call you, but she told me it was nothing. She said she was figuring